Well, folks, today Donald Trump issued more pardons, this time for a couple of notable African Americans. One of them is rapper NBA YoungBoy. He also issued his own statement, and he dropped this here. I want to thank President Trump for granting me a pardon and giving me the opportunity to keep building as a man, as a father, and as an artist. This moment means a lot. It opens the door to a future I've worked hard for. I'm fully prepared to step into this. Big thanks to the pardon czar, Miss Alice Marie Johnson, for fighting for second chances for so many people, and to my lawyer, and to Brittany K. Barnett for being in my corner, and all your hard work to make this possible. And thank you to everyone who believed in me. I'm grateful, I'm focused, I'm ready. Ken Trail. Now, again, this is related to his previous convictions as a result. And he also, of course, is in the middle of going on tour. He faced a variety of legal issues, including gun possession charges. That was one of the things that the Baton Rouge rapper was facing. Now, let's now talk about Larry Hoover. Now, Larry Hoover, well-known Chicago gangster, led the Gangster Disciples, also a drug kingpin. This is the Chicago Sun-Times. It's on their front page. President Trump commutes drug kingpin Larry Hoover's federal prison sentence. Hoover and David Barksdale created the Gangster Disciples in the late 1960s, ruling as King Larry and King David until Barksdale was killed in 1974. Now, the White House didn't explain why he was granted the commutation. He said, but the story says, but Hoover attorney Justin Moore said Trump commuted Hoover's sentence to time served. He still faces essentially life in prison on a state murder conviction. And then Justin Moore says, we did what so many said was impossible. We got Larry Hoover out of federal prison. Now, as the story notes, Hoover still has a state court murder sentence to serve, and Illinois prison officials have previously said he'd likely serve it in the federal system. And then it says right here, the news comes 8 months after U.S. District Judge John Blakey heard a mercy bid from Hoover. The judge challenged Hoover's attorneys during that hearing, asking how many murders is he responsible for. Hoover's lawyers ultimately responded by asking the judge to disqualify himself from the case. Blakely hasn't ruled in the months since. So the story says Hoover was convicted of murder after a trial in December 1973, and a judge sentenced him to 150 to 200 years in state prison. It said that didn't stop Hoover from running the gang, though. Hoover was charged in federal court with 40 crimes, including engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise. He was found guilty on May 9th, 1997. The late U.S. District Judge Harry Lineweber handed down Hoover's life sentence in 1998, telling him he had misused a gift from God. And again, so what you have here is Trump doing this. Now, what many people suspect is that here you have Trump trying to appeal to black male voters with these pardons. We saw him do this before other rappers as well. And then now remember, you had some rappers who won a campaign trail for him, and one of them was later indicted for murder after the fact. And remember that crazy, deranged moment when Kanye was in the Oval Office, and then he was pleading for Trump to pardon Larry Hoover. Y'all remember this here?
9 million surrounding suburbs where we can create some factories. Now, I think it would be cool for them to be Trump factories because he's a master of industry. He's a builder. And I think it would be cool to have Yeezy ideation centers, which would be a mix of education that empowers people and gives them modern information. Like sometimes people say, this kid has ADD, this kid has ADD. He don't have ADD, school is boring. It was boring, it's not as exciting as this. We have to make it more exciting, we have to mix curriculums. You play basketball while you're doing math. You learn about music while you meditate in the morning. We have to instate mental health and art programs back into the city. So those are, and also Larry Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. And as soon as he tried to turn his life around, they hit him with 6 life sentences. So I believe you say don't tear down the statues. Larry Hoover is a living statue. He's a beacon for us that needs to see his family, that needs to go out and represent. When you have a block leader on every single block, they can own the block as their own. That's something I learned from Jim Brown, from A Mayor I Can. We need to put curriculums from people who really came from the streets, not people who are just trying to set us up to go into a work system or prison system that applies to what people are really going through, which Jim Brown has created.
What about gun violence with all the debate about the Second Amendment going on?
The problem is illegal guns. Illegal guns is the problem, not legal guns. We have 7
So that was Kanye in all of his ranting. Now, Chris Toller, we've seen Chris Toller on our show many times, and with the Black Voter Project, and he posted a series of tweets. And I think he's also on the money. So this was a tweet right here. The neighborhood publicist said he's going after a certain demo hard, and I fear it may work really well. Chris goes, this is my worry too, and not so much that he will win over a ton of new voters from this, but it will make it more difficult to convince certain people it's worth their time and energy to go out and vote against him or his party in the future. Now, that was one of the tweets that Chris had posted. And then this is what he also said. He said, this is exactly how the far right plays right into the misinfo machine, something that was very effective creating apathy among black men in 2024. Unless JB, that's the governor of Illinois, commutes his state sentence, Hoover isn't set free, but the media narrative is all about Trump's move to free a black man. Here's the reality here, and I'll start with you, Candace. Let's just understand politics. And there were people who were calling for Obama to commute Larry Hoover's federal sentence. There were people who were calling for Biden to do it as well. And the reality is, if either one of them had commuted the federal sentence of Larry Hoover, Fox News, Conservative Talk Radio, Steve Bannon, all the blogs, Obama, Biden let out thug, drug kingpin, murdering Larry Hoover. Those would be the headlines.
They would. But as you mentioned, what he did was really inconsequential. Why? Because he still has state charges, and that's what he's going to be serving. What he knows how to do is marketing. And, you know, I was sitting in this spillover room in court the other day. So that's where the public is. You don't go into the main room, but you can see the Sean Combs case. So there were about 40 people who were there from the public. A lot of them, by the way, were tourists. They made this as a stop for them. After they saw the Statue of Liberty, they would come there to the Sean Combs trial. But the people who I spoke to, a lot of black men who are probably the demographic that he's speaking to, they didn't even believe the Cassie tape. They just believed, let Sean Combs go. Let all the rappers go. Let all the black men go. I mean, that was their mentality. So for him to make a move like this, it translates into a lot, but it also translates into nothing because he's still behind bars. Now, the fact that he was pardoned as opposed to commuted, that's a big deal. When you're pardoned, you know, everything's a clean slate. When you're commuted, your sentence is decreased. Larry was pardoned. That speaks volumes.
Well, again, the story. So the problem, the White House hasn't talked about it. So, once they say that he commuted his life sentence. That's what the Chicago Sun-Times story. But the White House hasn't talked about anything, so they haven't explained. And they did it before, where they don't explain commutation or pardon.
Oh, okay, all right. So
So according to Justin Moore, his attorney said Trump commuted Hoover's sentence to time served. He still faces essentially life in prison on a state murder conviction. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. And all of that ends up the same result. He's still behind bars, and that makes everybody happen. It's the most exquisite plan that he gets credit to release somebody or commute their sentence, but Larry's going nowhere. It's just marketing, and I think that he is going to get a lot. Listen, this is the man he's going to be in some more rap videos. Well, I wouldn't put it past Trump to be in some rap videos. That's just the 8th grader in him who wants to be popular. And he was popular with rap artists back in the day and popular with some of them now. But he's making sure that, again, I just see an 8th grade guy when I think about how he functions and wants to interact with people. And he's trying to work on being that popular guy, and he gained some points here.
Is this also, Rebecca, about appealing to the people who don't pay attention to the news and, oh my God, Trump pardoned Larry Hoover, and we know his name has been in numerous records. Rick Ross has shouted him out and so many others. Your thoughts on this?
Meets Larry Hoover, one nation under God getting money. Yeah, like, look, I think for a lot of people, Larry Hoover is more of a pop icon. I think of some of the people who were connected in Chicago with who he is, who he was, who he has been. I think some of those people aren't as active on social media right now. But you know, to your point, this is a pop icon. His name is his folklore stories about him is a narration that's in a lot of hip hop. What I find fascinating about this latest set of commutations / pardons, but we really don't know what it is. The White House hasn't really told us which one it is the fact that NBA YoungBoy got more out of Trump than Tim Scott. If I was Tim Scott, I would feel really bad. I did all that shucking and jiving over the last few years, and I got nothing. But NBA YoungBoy got something from Trump. The other point I want to make is black men aren't dumb, and I think black men are tired of performative politics, whether or not it's Democrats pandering to black men or it's Republicans pandering to black men. I think to the greater point, and this is something that Candace mentioned earlier about the 90 million voters who just don't show up. I think that 90 million is going to be more impressed by this than folks who are expected to turn out to vote in 2026 and 2028. But what I find interesting in the pivot towards black men is with that crypto party that happened last week. One of the people that was there was Lamar Odom. Now, I mean, I'm not exactly going to count Lamar Odom's pockets. I don't think he has $1 million or $5 million to invest in crypto. But, you know, I've heard some reports that he was paid to be there. He got an appearance fee because there still is that perception of Donald Trump wants black men to see black men around him. That's the part that I find a little bit more interesting than Larry Hoover.
Derek?
You know, I definitely agree with Rebecca and Candace. The 2 points I would add is this. We're at a point of no return. There was a time how we view in our society from a democratic standpoint about how the pardoning and the commuting should be done. It was a process, a very rigorous process. But now, since day one, when he let go 1,500 individuals, it was his way of thumbing the nose at a justice system that was coming after him fast and furious. I mean, this man was threatening to see himself dying in prison. He thought he was going to end up like Bernie Madoff, right? Dying in prison. And so he threw everything but the kitchen sink to run and to become president. And so now that he is in that seat, Roland, we're at a point of no return. He's saying, you know what? I'm so transactional. The hell with the rule of law. The hell with justice. I don't care what the perception may be. And so the reason why I think we're at a point of no return, because the future president's going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with a public to say, hey, the other guy had a disregard of due process. The other guy didn't have a problem with accountability. The other guy devalued punishment. The other guy dealt with cynicism. The other guy had to do. And so now what happens when the Oval Office become transactional for both parties?
Okay. So I want to unpack that. And I need people to listen to me very clearly. I need people to listen to me very clearly. Even when Obama was there, one of the critiques that I had is that I felt that President Obama played it too safe. And what I often argue is that the presidency it holds tremendous power. And what we've had are individuals who know about the power, but have been unwilling to maximize the power. And there have been instances where I believe that it was too safe. Take these pardons. Derek is right. This whole idea of a process. I can tell you, up until I visited the White House Friday before the inauguration, and there were battles going on inside of the White House regarding pardons. Pardons for former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., pardons for former Congressman Jefferson out of New Orleans, pardon for Marilyn Mosby. I was told that Biden drew a red line for what he deemed public official corruption. That was his red line. That's why he issued those pardons. I disagree with him, especially on Marilyn Mosby. That pardon should have been granted. I thought it was BS that she was convicted for using her own money. But I believe the problem, and I said this earlier, and I wasn't joking when I said that Democrats play too nice. It's like what's artificial. 2010, I was fed up watching how Obama was responding to Republicans and even some Democrats. This is what I wrote for CNN.com. Anthony, go to my iPad. Time for Obama to go gangster on GOP. And this is what I said. Civil rights activist Fan Lou Hamer made famous the phrase, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." For me, I'm sick and tired of Democrats having power and being unwilling to use it. I've always respected Republicans when they had power because they were willing to use it and maybe apologize later. I then talked about Obama watching Republicans block many of his appointments, and now he says he made it clear to them that he will, quote, consider, unquote, making some when the U.S. Senate goes into recess. Quote, one senator, as you are all aware, had put a hold on every single nominee that we had put forward due to a dispute over a couple of earmarks in his state. In our meeting, I asked the congressional leadership to put a stop to these holes in which nominees for critical jobs are denied a vote for months. Surely we can set aside partisanship and do what's traditionally been done to confirm these nominations. If the Senate does not act, and I made this very clear, if the Senate does not act to confirm these nominees, I will consider making several recess appointments during the upcoming recess because we can't afford to allow politics to stand in the way of a well-functioning government. I write, this is where the president needs to show his toughness and just do it. Forget threats. The actions of Senator Richard Shelby and other Republican obstructionists will continue if President Obama allows them to run roughshod over him. When you're the top dog, you do what you have to do to govern. Allowing Republican senators to continue to deny your appointments is nonsense. If all of them choose to support a filibuster, then you take it to the American people and show the obstructionists for what they are. You get your grassroots movement fired up to stand up and do something. The political right used its base to go after Democrats who blocked appointments to the federal bench and other positions. Why not be just as aggressive? And if there are members of your own party who stand in the way, such as Senator Ben Nelson, then you also blast them and make them pay for acting so foolishly. This president got rolled by the Senate over health care. His team made some boneheaded mistakes, and now they are paying for them. Continuing to play footsie with opponents will only get him into more trouble. He should set a deadline to have his folks confirmed. If not, appoint them all during the recess and go on about your business. Obama's critics keep blasting him for Chicago-style politics. So fine. Channel your inner Al Capone and go gangster against your foes. Let them know that if they aren't with you, then they are against you, and we'll pay the price. That beautiful big budget bill we're going to talk about in a second, there were some holdouts, some Republicans, hardcore. Trump looked them in the eye and said, get your ass in line and vote for it. They did. It passed. What I'm saying here, Candace, is that I disagree with how Democrats do pardons. We're going to wait till the end of the year. We're going to issue all of them around Christmas like it's a gift. No! The power is literally with the president. The president can issue a pardon or a commutation anytime, any day. Damn it, do it! And let me be real clear. Fuck Fox News. Fuck conservative media. They're going to criticize you anyway. So you do it. And if they say, why don't you do it? Because I'm the president. See, again, this to me is when you play a game with folk and you don't let it be known, I am the president, yo ass deal with it. And if y'all want to swing, let's swing. Recess appointments, hell yeah, do it. I'm not threatening you. The moment y'all hit that damn gavel in recess, appointment. Boom, boom, boom. Don't play games with me, I'm gonna do it again. At some point, and here's the other thing, whether they want to own it or not, this is actually one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't vote for them last time. Because they are responding to strength. And let me be real clear. Donald Trump is a thug. Donald Trump is a misfit. Donald Trump is a shameful, despicable human being. But what he is doing is maximizing the office of the president to its full potential. I think, frankly, he's breaking the law as well, but the Supreme Court gave him a get out of free jail card. But this is where, if you're Democrats, damn y'all rules. Again, if a Democrat wins in 28, I'm not waiting for that once a year part and stuff. I'm going to drop it now, move the hell on. But you know what they do? Once a year, and then the media they pick it apart. Republicans criticize, then some Democrats. Look at all the Democrats. Look at all them whiny-ass Democrats, Candace, who bitched and moaned because Biden issued preemptive pardons for his family and others. And the fact of the matter is he was right. This asshole would have investigated every single one of them. They would have ran up multi-million-dollar legal bills. And that's and that's why Biden did it. And he should have actually done it.
Now, the other thing, when you talk about timing and doing it just at one part of the year, because, it's a gift of some sort, when it's really the right that a president has at all times during his presidency, is that you throw people off. You get these pardons in all throughout the year where a lot of people aren't paying attention because we are trained to look at pardons at a certain part of the year. So again, this is just breaking rules with power that you actually do have. You are right in that the Democrats have to play it a lot differently and exert their power in a different way, to a point, of course, where it's legal. But this is one of those things where you can push the envelope a little bit. And it's something that, listen, he's using effectively and using it as a campaign strategy, right? For someone who's trying to get votes if he, hopefully in his estimation, runs again. So it's all strategy, it's all marketing. But when it comes to these pardons, it is indeed power that he has that we are so much more tight-fisted with, and it doesn't serve us good.
And Rebecca, remember, President George W. Bush commuted the sentence of Scooter Libby, who unveiled the name of a CIA operative. But remember, people got to remember that Dick Cheney was mad as hell because Bush did not give a full pardon. And people were really upset by that. Libby still had to pay the $250,000 fine. still stay on probation for 2 years. And that's how he did it. Well, guess what? Trump is issuing these pardons, and these people who he letting off, there are fines that have been imposed. I think the number's approaching $100 million, Rebecca, that these people don't even have to pay back. So they were victims of part of these crimes. He's like, nah, y'all ain't got to pay the money back. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We good.
You know, this is, we really got to unpack this because, one, I don't support the criminal legal system that we have in this country. It's not bring justice. It does not rehabilitate people. And I don't think it's working. I think it's failing. But when we're talking about pardons, I would say having arbitrary pardons is also a problem as well. There should be a clear standard of, hey, this is what you do in order to get a pardon. You shouldn't have to know Kim Kardashian. You should not have to know other high profile people in hopes that maybe your name will be whispered somewhere in the White House and maybe perhaps you'll get a pardon. So I don't like how pardons are issued under Democratic presidents. I typically don't like how they're used under Republican presidents either. But what Trump is showing, so for the next future presidents who actually want to do good in this country, the thing that Trump is showing is how you maximize the presidency. Like it's power. It's not absolute power, but in this world, it's very close to it. There's a lot of transformative change, a lot of positive things that can happen through that White House. And so the next person who gets in that White House, if you actually believe in the power of this country, the power of the people in this country, then use it for good. Don't be feckless. Don't be so caught up into the histrionics of what the opposition party is going to say. Do your thing because the Supreme Court has already said that you can do so. So we actually need someone in the White House who has that power, who will wield that power, but will wield it in a just way.
And bottom line is, if they gonna criticize you anyway, well, damn it, just roll with it. Listen. I understand need for a process, but here's a reality. In that, and again, I accept this for what it is. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying all of that. But the fact of the matter is this here, is that when it just says right here, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, that the president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. When called into the actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. That's all it says. That's all it says. It actually, and I totally understand what Derek says, what Rebecca says, what Candace says. Doesn't call for a process. It literally says the power rests in the hands of this one individual. This one individual can decide for whatever reason they want. In fact, this individual doesn't even have to give a reason. They don't have to issue a press release. And what I am saying is, for Democrats, you need to toughen your ass up. And you need to buck up and recognize that when you have the power, you fucking use it. Because you're not always going to have it. I say it to people all the time. Obama's only going to be there 8 years. Period. Not 9, not 10, not 12, 8. And when I was championing for him to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court, not that feckless ass Merrick Garland, he had 10 months left. And black organizations, black female organizations, were scared to publicly call for him to do it. And I said, what the hell are y'all doing? The hell with invites to the White House. He is gone in January. But that Supreme Court justice could be there for the next 30, 40, 50 years. But a lot of black folks, no, we don't want to pray. And I'm just telling y'all right now, I've told this story beforehand. They had a Black History Month reception in 2016, and it was the seasoned saints and the young folk. And here we were at the White House at the reception, waiting for folks. The reception started late because the meeting had ran over. And I never forget, I ran to Wade Henderson. Wade, did anybody in the meeting raise the point about appointing a black woman to the Supreme Court? No. I ran to Melanie Campbell. I ran to Rashard Robinson. And I was like, how in the hell were all of y'all in that meeting and nobody looked that man across the table and said, Mr. President, we stand here right now and we want you to appoint a black woman as Supreme Court Justice to replace Antonin Scalia? Well, you know, some of us didn't want to say anything because Loretta Lynch, you know, we hear she's on the short list and she was sitting right next to him. I don't give a shit if she was sitting right next to him. Y'all had an opportunity sitting in front of the President of the United States, and here were all of the young bucks and the OGs, and not one black person had the audacity to bring it up. They were silent. And I just shook my head. I said, I cannot believe y'all did that. And the letter that they had written, the black female groups, they slid it across the table to Valerie Jarrett privately. I said, what the hell are y'all doing? You need noise. So what I am saying is when you have the power, you use the power. And you use it for good. You don't let off somebody who gave $1 million at a dinner and Donald Trump like, sure, partner her son. But you use it for good. But see, when you try to play it safe, when you, what are going to be the optics? Ooh, what are they going to say? What's the right going to say? What the left is going to say? You spend too much time giving a damn about what the right and the left is going to say. Then they ask, why'd you do it? Because I'm the fucking president of the United States. That's why. Next.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.